Okay, I'm going to start, and anybody who's after that will just make their way in. I'm Mark Friedman. I'm the director of the Person Planning session training that we've been doing for the last 2 years, and today is a celebration of that. And we are terribly excited to have all of you with us and sharing with us and being part of us and being part of what we're doing today. Today is the end, really, of 2 years of work, and we are just happy to be celebrating that. And today we're going to hear in a little bit for our agenda from Tony Green, the Director of Developmental Disabilities Division, and all the work that they've been doing in the background. And we're going to hear from Kristen Larson, the Executive Director of the Nebraska Council on Developmental Disabilities, both who funded this effort and made it possible. I want to say how appreciative we are to both of them and their staff and the many, many, many people that we've worked with, service coordinators, service supervisors, the many families that we've been honored to be with. We've actually trained over 3,500 people over 2 years, which is just an amazing experience. And we and my team, both David Formeller and Formeller and Mary Angus and Aaron Phillips and Jennifer James are all really appreciative and honored to have been able to do this with you. What we're most excited about is this sustainability. Many times training happens and people don't follow through, and we're really elated that the division and the council have both made real commitments to do this. The division, as most of you would know by now, has adopted the Charting Life course, which is one of the newest and really an excellent platform for implementing person-centered planning. We've heard many actually, dozens of service coordinators and families telling us their stories already as they've begun to implement some of these things. So we really are excited about the continuation of it. We're pleased to have been able to be a part of this, and we're honored. And so our agenda today is going to be, we're going to hear from Tony Green in a minute, and then Kristen Larson, and then we're going to hear from Aaron Phillips and Jennifer James, who've been our co-trainers for the whole period of time, what it's like for them to have been trainers. And then we're very excited to have a surprise testimonial video that we've been able to put together. This will be the first showing that there will be of it. And we've gotten really good reviews on that, and then I'll wind up. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tony, and as the Director of the Division of Developmental Disabilities. Tony, you're on.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you, Mark. And welcome everyone. And I'm glad you took the time out of your day to join us in this celebratory event. First, let me say thank you to Kristen Larson and the entire Nebraska Council on Developmental Disabilities. It wouldn't be without your generous grant funding for this endeavor. We wouldn't be here today if that wasn't true. I'd also like to say thank you to Dr. Mark Friedman. Your expertise in the field of DD and person-centered planning has really been a valuable resource to all of us here in Nebraska. And I might add that we entered into this contract and this endeavor at the height of COVID. And you and team have been remarkably flexible, mobile in how we've created and kicked off this entire 2-year project of person-centered planning. So thank you to you and your system partners for putting that all together. And lastly, let me thank the DHHS staff. Many, too numerous to mention, but the countless hours that you put in to make this successful, whether that was content reviews, scheduling or arranging some sessions, hosting and creating the person-centered planning webpage. I'll specifically call out a couple staff, Joyful Stoves, who did a remarkable job for us during this person-centered planning process, keeping you all in the know and keeping that website up to date and getting folks registered. And you will also now, as Mark alluded to, as we transition into implementation, many of you are beginning to hear Colin Large, who is kind of taking us on our next endeavor, which is that Charting the Life course. Finally, let me say thank you to the 2,100 folks who attended various training sessions over the last couple of years. I again say thank you. Your commitment to making this happen and taking time out of your schedules to make this a priority is really what made this successful. As I said when we embarked on this project, that we were going to do person-centered planning, and I meant it this time. Some of us have been through this before or years ago, and maybe it had a different catchphrase, but I know internally to our own staff and certainly in other public forums have said, we're going to do this. We're going to take advantage of this opportunity that the Nebraska Council on DD has funded, and we're going to do it. So now that we've all been acquainted, or some of us reacquainted with the person-centered planning framework, we know what it is and what it isn't. You might be asking, what's next, right? Well, I'm glad you asked. So what we're going to be doing is taking that knowledge and applying it. As you know, being person-centered isn't just creating a policy that says we value people. It's not a checklist that you fill out or a score that you get on an assessment. Being person-centered or developing person-centered plans will be defined by the persons we support. When they tell us we're person-centered, we'll know we're there, right? So it requires action. So one of the things as we move out of kind of this phase and into the next phase, Nebraska Developmental Disabilities, we've partnered with the National Association of State Developmental Disability Directors, or you'll hear that referred to often as NASDs. And we've also partnered with the University of Missouri, Kansas City, UMKC, who owns the Charting the Life Course framework. Those two associations basically put us into what's called a community of practice. And this ongoing partnership that we'll have will give us access to specific tools in the Charting the Life Course framework, give us access to training, individualized training for ambassadors within our state, peer state meetings with our colleagues across the country who are also trying to implement person-centered planning and or Charting the Life Course framework. Some of you were able to attend the kickoff event that we held March 9th. We had over 290 attendees at that meeting. But there are also stakeholder Q&As going on right now across the state in May and June. We have one coming up May 9th in North Platte. And we have additional sessions to launch that framework in La Vista or Omaha, Scottsbluff, Kearney, Norfolk. All of these sessions are available in person or via Zoom. So as you really look at today's celebratory event of we made it, we got through the initial phase of person-centered planning training, we're now going to move into making that actionable. And so I'll go back to a quote that many of you have seen. We've had it on the front page of our web page that was used from a Facebook Live that I did when we kicked off this project, and I'll have to read it because sometimes I forget stuff that I say out loud, right? So person-centered planning is really ensuring that the plan is developed with the person, for the person, and by the person. It's really a different way of thinking of how we create services and supports for people based on what the participant wants and not what the system has to offer. So I leave you with that quote in my opening remarks to challenge you that as we continue to move this forward, be the voice that says, we need to change. This isn't person-centered. We've got to do this differently. And with that, again, I would say thank you very much for all of the folks on the call that are here to celebrate the event. We wouldn't be here without all of you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Can
Tony.
I say something?
Janet, we're going to go on with other people here, so hold on,
All
please.
right, I just wanted to say thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Tony. And just I was recall almost 2 years ago when you made that statement, and I was really moved when it happened and really thought this is really going to happen in Nebraska, and we've seen it come true and be true. So with that, I want to introduce wonderful and delightful Kristen Larson, who is the Executive Director of the Nebraska Council on Developmental Disabilities, and the people who funded this initial effort. Several years it took to bring about and implement, and I'm staying with it. So with that, Kristen, you're on.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So like Mark just said, my name is Kristen Larson, and I actually serve as the Executive Director for the Nebraska Council on Developmental Disabilities, or NCDD. Really is my pleasure to be here this afternoon and take part in celebrating really the resounding success of the person-centered planning training initiative that's taken place over these past 2 years. You know, Dr. Mark Friedman and his amazing training team have far exceeded council expectations with the council's investment of our federal funds to support the training. And as participants, many of you on here right now, you also played a really key role in the success, and I'm grateful for that. When we started the journey a couple of years ago, Tony mentioned that the nation was facing the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Originally, this training was scheduled to be in-person presentations, but due to the pandemic, it required Mark and his team to really pivot and do a lot of work to get to a virtual training system, and they conquered that challenge just beautifully. The change more than doubled the number of participants that were originally expected to participate in this training, and pivoting to the virtual format increased accessibility for people with disabilities, people with transportation issues, Spanish-speaking participants. We were able to reach so many more people across the state, and that really was a wonderful silver lining that come as we lived through the pandemic. For those of you who might not be aware, NCDD is a federally mandated independent council, and it's established by the Developmental Disabilities Act in 1970, which strives to improve the services of and supports for individuals with developmental disabilities and their families. And the council accomplishes this by investing, influencing, informing, and innovation. So council activities to demonstrate these new ideas for enhancing people's lives through training activities, much like the training that we've had in the last couple of years, through community education and support, by making information available to policymakers and eliminating barriers. So every state and territory in our nation has a state DD council, and the membership is comprised of individuals and families of persons with developmental disabilities, community providers, agency representatives, and we all advocate for systems change and quality services. The governor appoints these 25 state council members, with more than 60% of those members actually being people with lived experience with developmental disabilities or their family members. So I'd encourage many of you who are on here today to consider applying for going to the governor's website and applying to serve on the council, because we're always looking for new members. The successful PCP virtual training has empowered people with disabilities and older citizens to plan their life, find their voice, and work towards reaching their goals. The project served to introduce and reinforce the values and principles of person-centered planning, as well as conveying concrete steps on how to translate the goals and the dreams of the individual into their actual annual waiver-approved service plan. Or in other areas, we've heard stories, success stories where families have been able to, and students have been able to use this in their own individual education plans and special education in other areas. And as Mark mentioned, more than 3,500 people, family members, people with disabilities, older adults, professionals, educators, waiver staff, so many DHHS staff, provider staff and allies have participated in the trainings. And many of you then, after you went through the training, you took a step and joined the PCP Champions Group to further the implementation of the person-centered planning in Nebraska and to learn from everybody. And I want to thank you for your dedication and leadership within that role. So I think most of you are aware that I have lived experience as a parent, as my husband and I have a 28-year-old son with autism and an intellectual disability who receives day and residential supports. And I also participated in the person-centered planning. So not only as a council staff member, but then I put my mom or parent hat on and learned a lot, and it was wonderful. And I want to tell you that my husband and I know the importance of advocating with and alongside our son, Carl. And so that he receives the supports that are unique to his interests and needs so that he can experience his best possible life. And to be honest, my son has faced some real challenges in this past year with his HCBS services. But despite these challenges, we've made it a priority to stress the importance of person-centered planning as the foundation for his services, especially when he transitioned to receiving services with a new provider. I helped Carl create the one-page profile. I remember, well, you can't really see it if I put it in front of me, but this was very helpful that we brought this to his team meeting, and that profile highlighted what things do people like and admire about Carl, what's important to Carl, preferences and likes, and tips on how to best support him. And that has been a really great, useful tool as he's transitioned to a new provider. He shared that at his team meeting, and then my husband went a step further without even any prodding from me and shared a detailed one-page handout, which was an introduction on the background about Carl's team that showed, it demonstrated historical information about Carl, like what's his grandpa and grandma's name and cousins' names and other people that are important. We basically did some relationship mapping in that one-page handout. And then it talked about information about us as guardians or as parents to help his team understand our lived experience and our expectations. So they would know that, hey, you're dealing with some parents that know their stuff. So please, we want to see the bar has been set high. Advocating can be hard. I recognize that fully, but I found that learning about and then using the person-centered planning framework is making a difference for my son, Carl. And I'm really excited to learn how it's making a difference in the lives of others in our state. You know, spring is finally here in Nebraska, and I've been reflecting on the seasons of planting and harvest and how this relates to the person-centered planning efforts in our state. You know, and in order to have a successful harvest, you need many things, but one thing you have to have is good soil. And soil is the foundation of your garden or crop. It holds the plants, the roots, the nutrients, and the water that the plants need to grow, just like the person-centered planning framework does for individuals with disabilities and older citizens. There are threats and risks that a farmer faces when planting and maintaining a crop to reap a harvest, and likewise, we too will face challenges and risks throughout our lives. Person-centered planning is the foundation to provide many of the skills needed to flourish and to face challenges in life. PCP provides individuals with new purpose and new energy, just like good soil does for plants. I want to thank Dr. Mark Friedman, Ruthie Beckwith, David Weatherall, Ann, Jen, Mary, Josh, Aaron, and others on the person-centered planning training team for providing the nutrients really to develop the solid foundation of soil to launch person-centered planning as a framework for all of Nebraska's home and community-based services. I'm excited to see the new growth and the development that will come from the implementation of charting the life course framework. And I want to thank the Division of Developmental Disabilities Director Tony Green and his leadership team for their commitment to transform the service system by incorporating the charting and the life course framework to be used as that tool to make the ISP process even more person-centered in Nebraska. He really does mean it this time. Please take the opportunity to visit the DHHS Person-Centered Planning website to learn more about the incorporation of the charting the life course framework into all of the waiver services. Participate in those stakeholder sessions that I mentioned. Some of them you can even attend virtually. I just encourage all of us to get involved with this next step in the implementation phase to make the ISP process more person-centered, because ultimately that's going to enhance individual choice, independence, and integration into the community. So thank you. I've learned a lot. Thanks for going on this journey with me. And I want to remind everybody to continue to plant seeds and to believe in tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you, Kristen. That was really much appreciated. The overview and thoroughness of all the things that we went through, it reminded me of a number of things. I see as I've been looking at people, so many people that I recall working with directly. So we've done the training. It's delightful to see all of you here today with us. I did also want to thank a few people that have really been really key to doing this. In addition, I wanted to thank Joeyful Stoves, who really has helped with the webpage. That's been so important to getting the word out to people. Lisa Steiner, who's helped with doing the Facebook page and is going to continue working on that. Amy Callender Taff, who's just agreed to be the lead person on the Person Planning Champions, which is an ongoing support group to further people who are really committed and moving forward. And also my colleague of decades, Jim Conroy, who's helped with the contracting and making a lot of this work in the backgrounds. So now, one other thing I did want to encourage people, we do have 14 recordings of some of the most significant people who are planners, designers, creators of person-centered planning. It's all up on the department's website. We're having almost 300 people a month watch those. And so we just want to bring those to your attention. They were all done specifically for Nebraska. With that, I wanted to go with Jennifer James, who has been our co-trainer throughout this entire work and has been just quite exceptional and extraordinary, having her be a person with disability and going through her own experiences and sharing. And it's to tell you that she has almost always been one of the highlighted persons of getting and being appreciated, and gets the highest regards when we do the reviews and evaluations and surveys. And she's always on the piece of who people like the best, Myself and some of our other trainers have said, what are we change? Jennifer always gets the highest remarks here, and also Erwin. So with that, we're going to turn to you, Jennifer, and you're on. So please share with people some of your experience and what it was like for you.
Well, I want to say to my co-trainers, you're not Chung Chang. They just apparently like to see me. I love the group that I've been with for the 2 years. I've learned more than I knew before. It's been a big experience for me, new experience for me, because I have problems sometimes talking in front of people. But I'm glad that I had this experience. I'm glad that I was able to teach people some things. I'm glad I was listened to, and I don't think I could have found a better group to do this with.
Thank you, Jennifer. We really appreciate that. Now we're going to hear from Erin Phillips, and she's been our second co-trainer, who joined us along the way, and some other people dropped off, and had her own experience. Erwin, you're on.
You're on mute, Heron.
Hi, everybody. I want to say thank you, and I learned so much from this experience. Mark?
Can you share a little bit more with the group, Erin? Some of the things that you learned, some of the changes you went through. You had a lot of experiences and on your own personal experience from your own family and things that occurred to you, and then being with people and trying to help people so much. Can you share a little bit more? You have to unmute yourself, Erin.
You're using it for your own meetings.
I using this for my own meetings because it's the right thing to do. And it's about me.
Thanks, Erin. We really appreciate your comments and thoughts and whatnot. So they both played a huge role in sharing their stories and sharing their experiences. And I do laugh. Thank you for your kind words, Jennifer, but they always got the highest ratings on all the rated evaluations, and the comments were always highlighting their people appreciating hearing their stories. And so many of you who are here today did that and were able to do that and be part of that. So we're really elated, and we are really privileged to have them be part of our team and to be sharing and really be the famous saying of the disability rights movement of nothing about us without us. And so we were able to do that successfully and really appreciate the work that you did. It wasn't easy. It often was difficult to be a person with disability speaking up to 100 people at a time. So we appreciate that. I also wanted to thank Kathy Hoy, who was retired now, but is a former executive director for a long time and is a key advocate in Nebraska and remains a key advocate in Nebraska, and appreciate her for all the work that you did. And Kathy, you want to say a few words? She's retired, but hasn't left Nebraska, and it was the executive director, State Independent Living Council. Kathy?
Thank you, and Mark and everybody on your team. I want to thank you for everything you've done. We went into this with me being very skeptical about how effective it was going to be. And now I hear Tony saying that this will continue. And I just want him to know that I will be watching. I am not gone. I'm still a resident of Nebraska. So you will still hear from me if things don't go right.
Thanks,
Anyway,
Kathy.
thank you, Mary.
We really appreciate you being with us and sharing with us. Kathy was probably one of the first or second people I talked to on the phone when we were investigating, looking at doing this project, and she was one of the most skeptical people. Excellent. We're really happy. So with that, we are going to play the video that we've been able to do. This is a testimonial, and we are really excited to be able to have that and to be with us and to share with you. And if we can get that up and working, I'll be really, really happy. And let me just come from the beginning here. Just a second. Let's see if we can get, here we go.
I have thoroughly enjoyed the training. Sorry, I'm a mess today. It's just, but I've actually been through the person-centered planning training twice, and I've got so many notes and so many things written down. And then yesterday was my son, who has a traumatic brain injury. 25 years ago that happened, and Sarah, who you just saw, conducted that meeting with us, and it was absolutely amazing. And I saw Luke do things that I didn't even know he could do. I saw an attitude that I didn't know he could portray sometimes. But what it's done is it's changed my life. It's given me a purpose too, because I feel like I want to get this out to as many people as I can and share the wonderful news of person-centered planning training. And it's definitely changing and going to continue to change the life that my son leads. And I'm very proud of him and very happy that I got to meet all of you.
Really enjoyed the training. I do a extended family home, and I have two guys that live with me, and implementing this for them would be great.
I learned a lot from this person, Center for People
Planning.
Center for People Planning. I got to lead my own meeting not too long ago. It's great. I was come out of my hermit shell and learned a lot from this meeting that the training that we had. Yeah, I was like amazed that I could lead my whole meeting, and everybody was like so impressed that I got to lead it. And I had a lot of staff that just surprised a lot of people from leading my meeting, sticking to my agenda, and
Yep, good job.
yeah, thank you guys.
I too suffered a traumatic brain injury, and this, like I told Ann before, I thought I was in the wrong place. I thought I was in the wrong meeting, but being here, I know that I'm in the right place because it's actually given me hope. It's actually given me, it's let me know that I can still dream and that my dreams can still come true. And it's kind of given me like the plan to follow and to follow through. And I've met friends, I've met resources. You guys have given me resources to follow up with, and I'm just thankful for the program.
Well, I have been, a trainer in leadership in special education for many years, and I've been hoping and dreaming for this to happen, for young adults to be able to move and have a voice and have a dream and have choices. And with this training, and I've listened to all of the ones that I couldn't attend. I listened to them and watched all the videos and was participating in the Charting of Life course. And it's just wonderful to know that now we've got a plan forward to be able to be community advocates for these young people who need to have a voice and need to have dreams and have purpose and to live a good life. And it's it's a long time coming, and I'm so happy that it's happening now, and I'll be able to be involved in it.
Here we go. This has been fantastic, and talk about a circle, because on here tonight, I was at Josh's first meeting that he ran, and I have sat with him through several of the trainings, and I have watched the growth and the confidence that comes from being able to express your dreams and the directions you want to go. Yesterday, I was at Luke's meeting as a friend, and to see the impact of what 2 hours of mapping does for a person is amazing. Brandy, who has been on here off and on through the weeks here, I was at her meeting where that was the first time ever she ran her meeting, and the impact that it had on her and the team. And I just we had to have a special meeting today in regards to some things, and they weren't the most pleasant, but she ran that meeting. She called that meeting. She had some concerns, and she brought those concerns to them to see that growth. Josh is usually sitting with me here. Josh has been doing his thing for a long time. We have believed in person-centered for a long time, but even him sitting through these has given him more confidence to speak out. He hasn't had a meeting yet. He ran his meeting several months ago, but what I've seen him do is use the tools that he's learned here to run his own Poo Patrol staff meetings with support from Sarah and myself and others. So it's giving the power to people, and allows them to dream, and that's a great thing.
The biggest takeaway for me from this training is I am a DD service coordinator in Omaha. I have absolutely enjoyed learning about the person-centered planning even more. I think that this is going to open so many doorways to so many of my participants. I feel like it actually will give them a larger say and a voice in what they want out of life and how they want to achieve those goals. So I just want to thank everybody that was in our group for such an amazing 4 weeks.
This training has been great. It's really taught me how to create a circle of support and just learn how to be a self-advocate, a better self-advocate, and be more social, and just become an overall happier, more successful version of myself. So thank you so much.
I guess I'm a born natural advocate. I don't know. But I had to have help along the way. And I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for what you do for people. And all the team, David, Ruthie, Mark, all you guys, Ann and Mary Angus. Thanks for doing this, because it's about time Nebraska has this, so people's voices get heard and shared. It's too much oftentimes that people are relied on what they can't do, what they can't learn. I know people can do this. I know if people that don't have a voice, they also can voice their opinion. They do mean a lot to people. So this is a passion of mine, and I'll just advocate for the rest of my life. So, and I care about people. So, and I want to tell Mark, thanks for what you've done for me. I can't say thank you enough. Ruthie, the whole team. It's awesome to finally have this in Nebraska.
Oh, we want to thank all of you. That is really moving, all the people who are there, all the people here today that we worked with for a long period of time. Our piece is almost completely done here. We know we're in good hands. We again thank Tony Green for his leadership that he has exhibited for quite a long time. And he started out as before he was the director, and also the Nebraska Council on Developmental Disabilities, and all of the people, the many people in DHHS that people worked. There was a work group that we met every month. We met over 18 times, which is really quite amazing that people would show up and be there. The Planning Advisory Committee that Kathy was part of our for Overthink project and meeting on a long-term ongoing, and particularly Jen and Erwin, who really had to step up to the plate and increase their leadership skills and be with us, and all of the team. So we really appreciate all of you. We know that you're in good hands. Our overarching goal was sustainability. And we really feel that that has been accomplished, and we're really pleased. That was the reason for providing so much training. At one point, we were doing 3 trainings a week, and really strained our capacity with service coordinators and supervisors and whatnot. But we know you're in good hands. Charting Life Course is an exceptional program that many people around the country have found. The department partnering with the university and also with NASD, the state directors of all directors. It's a group that's all the Tony Greens of the world are all part of that. And so with that, we thank you for being with us. We found Nebraska just an awesome group. When I first came here, people said Nebraska nice. It turns out it is Nebraska nice, but not only Nebraska nice, but Nebraska implementation, Nebraska follow through, Nebraska creativity, and Nebraska excitement. And so we found you just an awesome group to be with. We hope that we get an opportunity somewhere in the future to do more work with you or be more connected or do something as we're together. So on behalf of our team, and I want to one more time, Mary Angus and Jennifer James and Erwin Phillips and David Weatherow and Ann Formeller and Ruthie Marie Beckwith and myself, we thank you, and we hope that we get to see you again, and many blessings to all of you. We will leave the chat box open. If people want to put something in there, we will send that out and distribute that to people. So if you have comments about the training or anything else that you'd like to talk or leave messages to any of the staff or anybody else, please just open up the chat and put in there. Given that, we will see all of you in the future, and we say God blessings and many to you. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Kristen. Bye-bye.